Hey there, Guardians. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Sentinel, which is the Void Titan subclass. Now, if you like overshields, this is definitely the subclass for you. And today I'm going to be breaking down the supers, the abilities, as well as the aspects, and then we'll end it with some synergizing Void Titan exotics. And with that out of the way, we're going to start with Ward of Dawn. So Ward of Dawn states that you can create an indestructible dome to protect you and your allies, and then while inside or near the Ward of Dawn, you and your allies gain a Void Overshield. Bam, big bubble. And as you can see, I have Armor Light inside the bubble that dissipates when I go outside, and then I have a Void Overshield, which when I go outside starts ticking down. So next we have Sentinel Shield, and it has a bunch of things you can do on this. So this is a roaming super. You can attack with it, you can block with it, and you can also throw your shield. And it states, guard with Sentinel Shield to create a defensive wall, and allies who shoot through the wall have increased weapon damage, and guarding allies make the shield last longer. So here it is, I'm running around, I'm roaming, so I can attack, I can hold up a shield, and I can also throw my shield. So the third Void Titan super is called Twilight Arsenal. I won't be able to show this one because I don't have it on my Titan. I need to go through the Final Shape campaign. But once you activate the super, you summon 3 Void Axes and you throw them at your foes one after another. On impact, the axes pull in nearby targets and detonate in a weakening explosion. So this is super good for boss damage. It's very good as a debuff, and it can kind of be used as a one-off super, even though you're throwing 3 axes, because you can throw them in quick succession. So overall, I would rank Sentinel Shield as a decent roaming super for both PvE and PvP. There's also some synergizing exotics that you can use for this that make it really good for harder content. Ward of Dawn is a great defensive option, but unfortunately it's been kind of phased out of the meta. But I think it still has its place, and there's one exotic I'll talk about later that works really well with it. And Twilight Arsenal is the new hotness for Void Titan. This one's just good all around, decent ad clear for what it does, and also it's just solid boss damage and debuff. So moving on, we have our class abilities for Titan. Nothing stands out here, just our 2 standard barricades. The Towering Barricade, which is more for defense, and that one states it creates a large barrier that can be used as cover. And then we have Rally Barricade, which creates a smaller barrier that doesn't offer as much defense, but it does give you some nice offensive bonuses like weapon reload speed, stability, and range when you stand behind it. So for the jumps, we have standard Titan jumps here with Catapult, High, and Strafe. I personally do not like Strafe jump, and I usually go between High or Catapult depending on what I need at the time. Now onto melees. So Shield Bash states that after sprinting for a short time, use this melee ability to unleash a devastating shield bash that suppresses the target. And if you remember, suppression stuns overload champions and takes them out of their movement abilities. And then final blows with it grant an overshield. So the way that this one works is you just have to be sprinting for a short period of time. You see the little wind effect on the side, and then you activate your melee. And if you don't hit a target, you only use 10%, which is nice. So if you miss, there you go. Now our second melee is called Shield Throw, which, as you can probably tell by the title, you throw your shield. So you're going to throw the shield, and then you actually get overshield for each target hit. So I'm going to show you that here. So I'm going to just toss this. And as you can see, I got a nice little overshield hitting a couple enemies. So for grenades, this is pretty standard for Void stuff. As usual, I recommend Vortex for general use and damage. You're going to throw it and it'll have an AoE pull. That's really nice for damage. And for CC, Suppressor Grenade is the way to go. This one bounces on the ground and then suppresses enemies. So I'll show you guys Vortex here. And as you can see, it's pulling in the enemies. And then we have Suppressor Grenade, which you throw it and it bounces and you can suppress enemies. So I'm going to throw it, it'll bounce. And enemies got suppressed like that guy in the back there. See, he's blinded. All right, and moving on to our aspects. So the first one we have here is Bastion. Now this one is going to be really central to a lot of your Void Titan shenanigans that you want to get into. So it states casting your super grants an overshield to nearby allies, which is very good. And it also states casting your barricade grants overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend their overshield duration. So all that means, supers give you an overshield when they're near it, and then you can see I casted my class ability and I also got an overshield. And if you're near the class ability here, say I'm near my rally barricade and my void overshield, the 15 seconds is not going down until I go over here, and then the timer should start going down. The next aspect we have is offensive bulwark. So this one states when I have overshield or are inside Ward of Dawn, my grenade is going to charge a lot faster. And I also have increased melee range and damage. And also melee final blows restore a small portion of my overshield and extend its duration. So I'm going to toss my grenade here. As you can see in the lower left hand corner, that's pretty slow. I'm going to give myself overshield. And now you can visibly see the grenade in the lower left hand corner charging a lot faster. And as you read, this also works when I'm inside Ward of Dawn. So really nice way to get your grenade back. And then for the last part of it, you just get an extra shield throw while you're in Sentinel Shield, which is nice. And finally, our last Void Titan aspect is Controlled Demolition. So this one states hitting a target with a Void ability, like a melee grenade, or volatile damage makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode, grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. So I'm going to demonstrate that with a grenade. I'm going to chuck my Vortex grenade, and then everything is going to explode because of this aspect. So the extra explosions there you see are from the aspect. It's a little hard to tell, but you can see he is volatile. That's what the visual proc for volatile, the purple fuzz around him. And yeah, so there's our aspects. Okay, and finally, I'm going to be touching on some exotics that work really nice with Void Titan. So the first one is Peregrine Greaves, which are exotic legs. So it makes all my shoulder charge abilities deal more damage when activated in the air, and damaging mini bosses, tormentors, or champions will give me my melee back. So I'll show you guys that in a second. I just have to proc the shoulder charge, and then if you see on the left, every time I'm in the air, I get the Peregrine Strike. And then you just use your melee to activate the ability. This one is really good for melting champions if you ever want to take on Nightfall activities or other activities that have champions in them. And up next we have Ursa Furiosa. So these are exotic Titan arms. So it states that you can move faster while guarding with Sentinel Shield or the Unbreakable Shield, and then damage blocked with either is converted to super energy. So I'm going to show you that here. Ursa Furiosa is really good for higher level content, especially Grandmaster Nightfalls. So I'll bring out my shield. Unfortunately, a lot of things are walking in and getting killed by it. And as you can see, that didn't even block a lot of projectiles because a lot of these are melee, and I still got almost 50% of my super back. So this one's really good to get your super back. I'm pretty sure it caps at 50% now. You used to be able to get even more, like up to 100%. But overall, great exotic, high level content. Up next, we have Doomfang Pauldron. So this one states, defeating targets with void damage has a chance to grant an escalating bonus to damage with void weapons, and then defeating targets with void melee grants super energy. So I'm going to show you guys that part. The second part I'm not going to show you because it's pretty easy to understand, but while Sentinel Shield is active, so that's our super, defeating targets with melee attacks recharge shield throw, which then extends your super on hanging target. So it just gives you a longer super. But the first part is a recent change that they made with this season, and I'm going to show you that here. So I'm using a void weapon here, but you can use any void damage to proc the buff. And I'm going to kill a bunch of these guys, and you'll see on the left I already got it. So escalating chance, which means it is a little bit RNG, but once you get it, you get a void weapon bonus damage, and I'm at ×4. So this is 25%, which is a lot, and every kill I get resets this back to 10 seconds, which is really, really good. I feel like this is probably going to be slept on this season, and not a lot of people know about this, but yeah, if you get yourself a Doomfang Pauldron, this is a super cool exotic that I think could be very useful, especially because this part of it, the weapon bonus damage for Void, that was just changed this past season when Final Shape came out. So yeah, Doomfang Pauldron. Last but certainly not least is the Helm of Saint 14. So this one states that targets that enter Ward of Dawn are blinded, while allies that pass through gain a bonus to weapon damage. And then also guarding with Sentinel Shield blinds nearby targets. I won't show the guarding with Sentinel Shield part because it does the same thing as the Ward of Dawn, the same blinding effect, just with the different super. So we're going to try this with Ward of Dawn and see if enemies get blinded. So I popped it. As you can see, I have my armor light and void overshield, but I also have weapons of light, so I have a bonus to weapon damage. And all these guys cannot see. It is very dark, very scary, because they are all blind. So very good to use to buff your Ward of Dawn. And that is all. So we talked about the supers, as I'm about to die here. We talked about the barricades, the jumps, the 2 melees, good grenades to use for Void, some aspects, and then we talked about a few of the Void exotics for Void Titan. If you guys have any questions, or if I didn't go over something specifically that you wanted to see, just let me know in the comments and we can figure it out together. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.